With both the 76ers and Hawks winning today, the Eastern Conference second round is officially set. So who's moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals out of these two? In today's video, I'll be taking a look at the second round matchup between the Philadelphia 76ers and Atlanta Hawks and predicting the series, each team's strengths and weaknesses, the players who need to step up, the keys to success, every little detail. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe. For more NBA content like this, I'm trying to reach 17,000 subscribers, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, with that being said, let's take a look at this second round matchup. The Philadelphia 76ers cruised to victory in round 1 against the Washington Wizards. Though I wouldn't say it was an utter domination of Russ and Beal, the 76ers did what they had to do and got out relatively comfortably. Joel Embiid was fantastic in the round when he was healthy, and he put all the games he participated in to bed by three-quarter time. And if that type of play continues, barring any future health concerns, Philadelphia should be the favourites to get out of this series. That said though, I wouldn't count out the Atlanta Hawks because they have been fantastic in their opening round of the playoffs. Trae Young was phenomenal and shut down all myths about how his play doesn't contribute to winning basketball and absolutely dominated the Knicks. New York had no answer for him. The Hawks defense was magnificent too last series as they locked up the Knicks' primary offensive focus in Julius Randle and managed to play well for the most part against their top tier defense. The Hawks aren't going into this series as favourites by any stretch, but it's evident this team is extremely confident in themselves, so this matchup has got potential to be very entertaining. With that being said, however, let's take a look at the strengths and weaknesses for each team and how they will impact each side in this series, starting with the Philadelphia 76ers. The biggest strength of the Philadelphia 76ers is their defense. They were able to lock up the Wizards' great offense last series for 4 of the 5 games, and the only couple of games where they somewhat struggled was when Embiid sat, but I think it's clear he'll be ready to go for this round. Out of all the Eastern Conference teams, the 76ers had the second best defensive rating during the regular season, and against a versatile Hawks offense, that caliber of play will need to continue, especially against the Hawks' elite offensive guards. However, a weakness of the 76ers is their free throw shooting, and that could be more costly for them than they think. I mean, it already cost them a game in the first round, where Ben Simmons in particular failed to knock down multiple important free throws down the stretch, which allowed for the Wizards to extend their lead to an insurmountable point. The problem is with the Sixers is that they get to the free throw line a lot, first in the league in free throw attempts per game in the regular season. But when it comes to their percentage from there though, it's 22nd in the league, which is obviously not good at all for a team that gets there so often. For the 76ers to get out of this series comfortably, they really need to sharpen up their free throw shooting, because as I mentioned earlier, it may just cost them a couple of games if they don't knock down the easy ones. As for the Hawks, their biggest strength would have to be their free throw shooting. The team got to the line on the regular against the Knicks, shooting at least 25 attempts per game, and they managed to shoot from there at a great clip too, some games shooting over 90% from the stripe. If they're able to draw some fouls on the 76ers guards and put them in trouble, I think it elevates their chances of winning this series quite a bit, but it will definitely be a tougher task to do so compared to the Knicks. So we'll see how they go, but again, it's a big strength of the Hawks that I reckon they should capitalize on to get an upset in this round. However, one big concern and weakness for the Hawks is their defense. They rank 21st in defensive rating this season and don't have a lot of elite level defenders, particularly on the perimeter. With Trae Young spending a lot of time on the court, he will be heavily targeted in this series, and if Atlanta doesn't step up the intensity on the defensive end, I'm concerned about their chances, simply because their offense may struggle against an elite level defense that the 76ers have with guys like Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, and Joel Embiid. So those are the strengths and weaknesses for each team. With that being said now, let's take a look at a player from each team who needs to step up in this series in order to give their team the best chance of winning. For the Sixers, it has to be Ben Simmons. Simmons was great for like 3 of the 5 games last round, and that's when he was attacking and aggressive, getting downhill, putting the ball on the floor, and going at guys one-on-one. That's when Simmons is at his best and is so fun to watch, and it makes the 76ers so much better, particularly in a slowed down pace in the playoffs. However, we did see a couple of times during the series Simmons hurting the 76ers, and that occurred on offense, not defense. He continues to be great there. But again, he literally cost the 76ers a game by being completely unable to make free throws down the stretch, putting the game out of reach for Philly in Game 4. I'm not saying Simmons needs to be a 90% free throw shooter, but he's still got to be a lot better than the 30 to 40% he's been making thus far. With Embiid not completely healthy still, Simmons needs to lift to propel Philadelphia to the Eastern Conference Finals, and being passive on offense and not making the most of opportunities that are presented, like free throws, won't help. To me, it's pretty self-explanatory why Simmons needs to lift. He's shown how good he can be, I just think he needs to do that more consistently, because again, if he does that, the 76ers become so much more dangerous. It'll be even more important too, due to the uncertainty around Embiid's health. If Simmons can do that, there is no doubt in my mind that the 76ers can make the Eastern Conference Finals and potentially go further, maybe to the big stage. His play is going to be extremely crucial for the next few weeks for the 76ers, so they've just got to hope that he will step up and provide what they need him to. As for the Hawks, Clint Capella needs to step up, and I don't mean that in a bad way whatsoever. He was brilliant last series, and without him, the Hawks probably don't get through the Knicks so easily. His play on both sides of the floor was instrumental to the Hawks' success, and this time around, he'll need to continue that level of play, and perhaps take it to a higher level, because Atlanta is now playing arguably the best big man in the league, or at least the most dominant interior player in the league, in Joel Embiid. Embiid, though maybe not fully healthy at least to begin the series, will be the 76ers' go-to option, and will be the driving force for their success, and Capella is almost certainly going to be tasked with defending him throughout this round. Capella needs to lift defensively to slow Embiid down, and needs to continue helping Trae Young on offense, because with the great perimeter defenders that Philadelphia has, versatility will be key. The pick and rolls with Trae will need to be effective, and his rim protection needs to continue to be great if the Hawks wish to win this series. Again, Capella has been great thus far, but he's got a hugely difficult task ahead of him in round 2. That's why to me, he must step up again, because otherwise the Hawks may just get run out of the building. Finally, before I get into my final prediction, what are the keys to success for each team? For the 76ers, it will be slowing down Trae Young. Trae Young is ridiculously important to the Hawks' success, and in the only game that the Hawks lost in round 1, Trae Young sat for 12 minutes. In those 12 minutes, Atlanta scored a total of 16 points. That just shows you how valuable he is to getting their offense running. His ability to pick apart defenses with his passing is special, and it opens up the floor greatly for his teammates. By forcing the ball out of his hands, his impact is reduced and thus makes the Hawks' offense a lot more defendable. Philadelphia has the tools to shut down Trae with guys like Thibault and Simmons, so making sure they actually do so will be very important for them to win this series. As for the Hawks, I think they need to minimize the impact of Ben Simmons. As I said, when Simmons gets going, he makes the 76ers a far more dangerous team. But when he's not, he can sometimes be a slight negative for Philly, at least offensively. Embiid is obviously going to be dominant and the Hawks will only be able to do so much. But if they're able to force Simmons to have a few off games, who knows? They might just be able to pull off the upset. Simmons will make or break the 76ers this postseason, and if Atlanta finds a way to do the latter, there's a chance they get through this series with the W. But with that all being said, after looking at the strengths and weaknesses for each team, the players who need to step up, and the keys to success, who wins this series, Atlanta or Philadelphia? I'm going with the 76ers in 5 games, and here is why. Trae Young and the Hawks were fantastic last series, and even though they had some atrocious games offensively, they were still able to blow by the Knicks with ease. The 76ers, however, have just as good defense as the Knicks, but with far more offensive superpower. So if the Hawks are getting locked up, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to stay in the game and hold their own. Unfortunately for Atlanta, the 76ers match up far better with them than the Knicks did. So I can see Trae Young being locked down this series somewhat by a guy like Thibault or Simmons. With his impact limited, the Hawks are going to suffer, and I realistically can't see many guys consistently lifting to get them over the line. With Embiid's health in question, I can see Atlanta maybe pinching one game at the start of the series, but that's really it. If Capella plays his mind out, maybe the Hawks take a couple, but personally, I just think this is a terrible matchup for the Hawks on paper. I'm expecting a dominant series from the Philly superstars, and maybe a lackluster one from Trae Young. So for that reason, I've got the 76ers moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals in 5 games. And that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? Who do you have winning this series? The Hawks or the 76ers? And in how many games? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.